I don't know if any of you guys saw my Giga Shikadze video, but basically the way that video came about where I talked about the Giga Kick is I went to do a striker's breakdown on him. You've seen our striker breakdown series. These are videos where I go through a fighter, stance, guard, punches, kicks, combos, intangibles, basically break down their striking game and then give examples using myself so that I don't get copyright struck by using footage from the UFC. So I ended up with that video where I was watching Giga and I was like, you know, the most interesting thing for me that's popping off the page and the thing that everyone talks about is this Giga Kick. Why don't we just explore that instead? And I really enjoyed that idea. So today I sat down and I wanted to do a Zabit Magomedsharipov striker breakdown. I think Zabit is one of the most fascinating people in the UFC. I'm gutted and heartbroken that he's had such a break from it. Apparently he's coming back this February and I really hope that's true because I'm so excited to see him compete again. I just think he's such a breath of fresh air to the style and to the martial arts that I really want to see him there. I thought I'll do a striker's breakdown as a bit of a kind of honor to it that he was going to return to the octagon. And again, I'm watching him and what I noticed with Zabit was a bit different. It was how well and how amazingly he combines all the elements of MMA. The wrestling, the takedowns, the grappling, the submission game, and of course the striking. So in trying to do a striker's breakdown, it felt a little hollow because it was just such a narrow part of what is a very well-rounded game. In fact, I didn't see a single Zabit fight where he didn't use all three elements, where there wasn't some striking to set up a takedown, to set up a submission. He just has such a well-rounded game. However, what he does on the feet is so fascinating because it's so unorthodox. He does so many things where if you went to a striking coach, you said, I want to fight MMA, and you showed him all of this stuff, he'd go, right, throw all of that out of the window. We're not going to do any of that. Let me teach you how to throw a back leg roundhouse kick. Let me show you how to throw a leg kick, and maybe here's a tee. And he kind of throws all that out the window. I think a big reason why he's able to do that, why he feels comfortable to do that, is like I said, he's just so comfortable everywhere the fight goes. So he can risk throwing a huge spinning kick and it go horrifically wrong because he has no issue if he lands and ends up on the bottom position. He has no issue if he lands and ends up kind of in a scramble. If he lands up on top, if he lands in a wrestling exchange, he doesn't mind. And so he's willing to take the huge risk to land that effective, powerful strike because these techniques, whilst they are very unorthodox and whilst they are high risk, they do have a real effective strike. They have a lot of power behind them. A lot of them are spinning techniques, so they've got a lot of rotational force. And when you do land them, you know, it's money. I thought instead of doing a full striker's breakdown, instead of looking at his entire game, why not let's just look at 5 ninja shit cool things that he does in his game and break them down. So I've watched a bunch of his fights and I took 5 of my favorite things that he does that's just wildly out there, or maybe not even that wildly out there, but a bit unorthodox, and I thought we'd break it down, talk about how he uses it, talk about what it is. Let's go straight into it with number 1. Right, number 1 is the Bruce Lee sidekick. Now, don't get triggered, all of you like people who think that Bruce Lee isn't all that. I'm also one of those people who thinks that Bruce Lee was a very good entertainer, a very clever man, and a very okay martial artist who managed to translate that into huge celebrity. However, he did have some signature moves, and it's cool to see them when you see them happening in the octagon. And this is the one-step sidekick. We talk a lot about sidekicks. We spoke before about Stephen Wonderboy Thompson and how he uses the sidekick and implements it. This is slightly different, and Wonderboy would probably go against this style of throwing it more often than not. Here we're using what we call the one-step mechanic. The one step is where your back foot steps up in order for your front leg to kick. And there's actually 2 variations on it, and we're going to talk about those in a minute, but let's just get to the meat and potatoes of it. You step up, lift your lead leg chamber and shoot that side kick in, whether that be to the body, the chest, up to the head, it doesn't really matter. The idea of that stepping motion is it allows you to generate a lot of forward momentum. It makes the kick extremely powerful. It also really helps for those of you that struggle with flexibility in your kicks. It's a good way for beginners to start getting their kicks up high. Don't rely on it too much because the issue with this kick, the reason I'd say Wonderboy avoids it, is because it does have a massive tell. in the sense that the second you see that stepping motion, you're likely going to retreat or angle off or try to step in and throw a counter. So you have to be really clever about where and when you use it in terms of the timing. Now, the two variations of it are depending on what you want to do with the distance. The variation number one is you step up, you throw the kick, but then you step back to your original position. And if you see me doing it on the bag here, the idea is that it's resetting me back to the same distance from my opponent. So if I wanted to maintain a kicking range, if I wanted to keep a distance between us, this is a great way of throwing this kick. The second variation is if you did want to close that distance. Here, same start. I'm stepping up and I'm throwing the kick. The difference is I'm now going to land that kick forward. And if you see again on the bag, after I land here, I've now landed closer to my opponent. So if I wanted to get into more of a boxing range, or I wanted to start clinching up and getting into the grappling, this is a great way of using this kick to close distance. Zabit's been seen using both of them. He likes to throw this kick as low as you can go on the body without it being a groin shot. So really kind of on that hip and into that stomach section, because it's really great. Side kicks are really effective for sneaking underneath the guard. Even if you've got a solid defense, like your hands are up, your elbows are in, this is a really effective way of just sneaking in underneath down the front of that guard and hitting into that body. Okay, the second one is the jump spinning back kick. And I'm going to put a little emphasis on the jump because more often than not, this is how he throws it when he throws it successfully. And there's a reason for it. First, let's get through the mechanics of it. Jump spinning back kick, the idea being that we're turning around, bringing our back leg through and driving in what effectively could be described as a side kick again, but off of a spinning motion. Back kick can often be also with the toes pointed down. And I've even seen some people with a variation where the toes are almost pointed up. The idea really is that it's a spinning push kick. It's a spinning kick that pushes into your opponent, and again, you could take it to the body or you could take it to the head. Zabit more often than not lands it into the stomach, especially around that kind of liver section on the right hand side. He throws it from orthodox. He fights as orthodox. He definitely does do some things from switch, so you will see him occasionally move into southpaw, but the majority of his techniques do seem to be done from an orthodox position. Now, I touched on the point that I wanted to get into, which is that it's a jumping kick. The big reason that I advocate for doing a jump spinning back kick is I personally feel you get a lot more speed on the rotation. Because you take that supporting leg out of the equation in terms of needing to pivot and rotate round on it, I believe that you can get a lot more speed and torque on that turn if you get that standing leg off the floor. So if you can get it to where you jump as you spin, I feel like you get a faster kick. And more often than not, this is how you're going to sneak underneath people's guards and land this shot. Zabit really likes to throw this off of punching combinations. He likes to get their hands up, draw their guards upstairs, and then boom, spin round and shoot that in underneath the guard. Next, we got the spinning heel kick or spinning hook kick. Again, you see I'm putting emphasis on the heel because more often than not, when I've seen him throwing this, he is attacking with that heel, back heel portion of his foot when he's landing the strike. The other variation of this would be where you hit with the sole of the foot. So a lot of traditional martial artists, again, let's take Wonder Boy as an example. If you watch his knockout with the spinning hook kick and Edson Barboza as well, they actually hit with the foot kind of extended out in a hook kick or roundhouse kick position, and it's hitting with the whole sole of the foot making the connection. Here, we're pulling that foot back so that we're really exposing the heel. What this does require you to do is obviously get a little bit closer. You're going to lose some of that range, but it's a lot more of that blunt force trauma. Just think how hard the heel of your foot is, and if you can wrap that round someone's temple or someone's chin, it's lights out, baby. It's game over. So I really like the way he throws this. What it also means is he throws it particularly close to people where they wouldn't expect a spin kick to come from. He's got a real good ability of throwing this kick from the inside, and again, that kind of lends to why he might strike with the heel of it. When he's got forward pressing opponents or when he stepped in on someone, one of the last things people are going to expect at that kind of range is someone to jump up or throw a spin kick round. The beauty of this is they're generally blindsided to it and don't think to defend early enough and can get caught. Right, let's take a break from the spinning for a minute before I get too dizzy, and let's take a look at the Taekwondo Switch Kick. This was a really fun one. I'm trying to remember what fight I saw this in that he threw it, but I thought that's a real ballsy move, because the reality of this kick is that in terms of its impact and effectiveness in MMA, it's relatively minimal. And I'm not saying that it's not an effective kick. You know, you watch Taekwondo finals, you'll see people getting knocked out with this stuff all the time. But in MMA, where you've got the kind of tight guards in, the Muay Thai style fighters, and I think when Zabit threw this, he hit both of the techniques to the body, it's just not generating enough force to do any significant amount of impact. The other issue with it is not only are you off your feet for the majority of the time, but you're in a very squared off position. So if someone did push in and get grips on you, it would be very easy for them to take you down and to get you on bottom position. And again, we've spoke about why Zabit doesn't really mind if that happens, because he's super comfortable working on his back and getting off of it with sweeps and reversals. Now, there's a whole bunch of ways you can throw the double switch kick. What I like about the way Zabit does it is that sometimes he leads off of his back leg to throw his front leg, and then I've seen it in some regional shows where he'll lead off of his front leg to throw his back leg. What it basically means is he can attack both sides of your body in either order. And what was kind of mentioned in the UFC that was impressive about it was how well he recovers from it. He throws these two kicks and he's straight back under his feet, which means that he can straight away initiate with the hands or get into the grappling exchange. That's one of the big things about Zabit in general, is his ability to throw these very unorthodox, very large techniques, and more often than not find his way back to his feet rather than falling down onto the floor, whether he feels comfortable there or not. For this last one, I ran into a little bit of a snag. So I film all my videos behind me here, and behind the lovely draped curtains is very large windows. So the final technique was intended to be the Showtime kick. The Showtime kick is where we are jumping off the cage and then boom, bringing that roundhouse kick round into our opponent's head. Made famous by Anthony Showtime Pettis. He got to coin the phrase, he got to coin the name, and here we have the Showtime kick. Zabit's used this a couple of times, and it's a really fun, really awesome technique. The problem is, if I try to Showtime kick off of a glass window, there's a good chance that I won't be making videos for a while because my wife will probably kill me. You notice how I'm not afraid of the glass in my leg? I have no issue with that. I'm more afraid of my wife's response when she comes home to see that I have Showtime kicked my way through a window. But I didn't want to leave you guys without, so we're going to borrow a little bit and take some artistic liberties with this and show the double kick. Now, I relate this technique mostly with Raymond Daniels. If you've never watched a Raymond Daniels fight, then please do yourself a favor. Go watch him do points fighting, go watch him in Glory kickboxing, and then go watch him in Bellator MMA. The man is just fantastic. He's just one of my all-time favorite fighters to watch, and he is a true virtuoso of all these amazingly complicated techniques. So I think Zabit wouldn't mind. If he ever sees this video, I don't think he'd mind me referencing one of these, and I would not be surprised if Zabit hasn't already used this technique or certainly has it in his arsenal. The double kick. This is very similar to the Showtime kick in the sense that we're using the first kick to generate momentum, height, and spin to get the second kick. That first jump off the wall for the Showtime kick is really just used to set up the second, which is the roundhouse kick coming off of it. The difference with the double kick is we're setting up the jump off of one leg to then spin round and hit with the other. Now that double kick, it has a kind of almost endless variety in terms of the two kicks you can throw. That first kick can be a roundhouse kick, or it can be a semi kind of push off side kick, or even a teep. That spin kick that comes round could be the spinning hook kick round the side of the head. I personally prefer to use it more as a spinning back kick. So I push in off of basically a turning back leg side kick and then spin into a spinning back kick. I like to take the first one low and try to come over the top to hit to the head with that second one. Real ninja stuff. I think it's awesome. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed all the techniques we've talked about today. There was actually about 3 or 4 more that I could have gone through watching Zabit's library, and then the ninja stuff that he does on the ground, even more impressive, and I want to get someone along one day so that we can demo some of that stuff as well. Hope you've enjoyed the video. If you've had, I'd really appreciate it. Before you go, just hit that like button for me. It really helps out the channel. Subscribe to the channel. We've got new videos coming every week, and I will see you on the next one.